Welcome to another video. After I compared my 2022 Subaru BRZ to an E46 M3, I thought to myself, well, there's actually another $30,000 to $35,000 used front engine, rear wheel drive, naturally aspirated sports car in the form of the E92 generation BMW M3. So today we'll be comparing my friend Varun's E92 against my 2022 Subaru BRZ. Now I know what you're probably thinking, where's the BRZ? Usually I drive that car first to serve as the baseline for the comparison, but frankly I've reviewed that car's driving dynamics on this exact road so many times now that I figured there's no need to repeat myself. I can still talk to exactly how the BRZ performs and feels, but if you want to see for yourself, click on the pop-out card to see the BRZ versus E46 comparison. So let's talk about this E92. This is a 2008 model year. It's the very first model year that was available, and this is equipped with the first generation BMW DCT or dual clutch transmission. This particular car has done almost 155,000 miles, but the owner Varun has done quite a bit of maintenance and modifications to make this his primary track car. I'll put the full list of mods in the video description, but the main items of interest here are JRZ RS two-way coilovers, Hotchkis front and rear sway bars, full SPL kinematics except the front arms, and front monoballs on TRW lower control arms. It also has upgraded motor mounts, transmission mounts, and diff mounts, and additional bushing and bearing upgrades to make this thing handle as well as a 3,700 plus pound car can handle. That's right, this thing weighs over 3,700 pounds, so it's probably 800 to 900 pounds heavier than my BRZ. And it's powered by the legendary BMW S65 engine, 4-liter naturally aspirated V8, revs to 8,300 RPM, and produces 414 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It probably makes an extra 170 to 180 horsepower over the BRZ, but the extra weight really does not work to its advantage here. We're also on some beautiful Apex 18-inch wheels with 275 section width Kumho V730 tires all around. You can pick these cars up for right around $30,000 depending on the condition. An early 2008 model year like this one with higher mileage can be had for less than 20 grand. In fact, Varun picked this one up for 17 grand. This comparison is also particularly interesting because Varun previously had a 2022 BRZ, just like mine, that he sold in order to pick up this E92 because he felt the BRZ just didn't feel quite special enough. So let's find out if he's right. We've got the car in custom M mode, which turns the shift aggressiveness all the way to the max setting. It gives us maximum throttle response, and it turns off traction and stability control. This engine isn't particularly torquey, but of course it makes up for that with its revs, 8,300 RPM redline. Now this DCT, very quick for its time and still feels pretty good, pretty responsive, but it's definitely showing signs of age compared to, say, a modern PDK or even a newer BMW DCT gearbox. Yeah, these upshifts are particularly aggressive. You feel a dip in torque as it shifts, and it's definitely a little bit off-putting. But just listen to that engine. It's so insanely good. It has so much character. Now, stock brakes with just pads and fluid actually feel pretty good for canyon work. Hydraulic steering rack. Last M3 to have this type of steering, and it feels pretty good, but not as good as you might expect for a hydraulic rack from 2008. It has good weight, it's pretty precise, but it's not brimming with feedback, if I'm being honest. I could be fooled into thinking this was an electric power steering rack, and actually I was the last time I drove an E92. So I would say the steering definitely isn't the highlight of this car. We're actually gonna back the gearbox setting off just a little bit and see if that makes it shift a little bit smoother, even if it's a little bit slower. apparently something is vibrating on throttle. Varun mentioned that it's a problem he's trying to figure out right now. And it does make the engine feel a little bit weird when we accelerate. It almost feels like the engine is stuttering just a tad. And that's the thing with these older BMWs. Even though the issues with the E92 are very well documented, there's still a lot of them, and you have to sort through them one by one to make sure you get an uncorrupted driving experience. This gearbox definitely showing signs of age here. The slightly less aggressive shift speed setting doesn't seem to help all that much with smoothness. See the car fighting for traction there, even with 275 section width. Kumo V730 is a very sticky tire, but still this car just wants to rotate on throttle. It makes it so exciting to drive. The suspension, the JRZ RS two-ways, they're stiff, no doubt. You feel every single bump, no matter how big or small. But the way the dampers just soak up the impact of each of those bumps is top-notch. So in a way, you could say that it's not really comfortable because the spring rate is so high and you feel every bump. But in another sense, it is comfortable because it's soaking up every bump. Even though you do feel the bumps, they don't feel harsh. So it's really up to what your definition of ride comfort is. But on the track and in the canyons, this suspension feels fantastic. Love this 275 square wheel and tire setup. It makes the car feel so neutral. It's very adjustable on throttle. The front end has plenty of grip, plenty of bite. But there's no hiding the weight of this car, 3,700 plus pounds. This car does not feel very nimble compared to the BRZ, and even compared to the E46, which is more like a 3,400 pound car. In terms of nimbleness, the E46 slots in right between the BRZ and the E92. Oh man, this engine is absolutely fantastic. It is my favorite BMW M engine of all time. I prefer the way it sounds and the extra power compared to the E46's inline 6. It has far more character than the later turbocharged engines in the F80 and G80. Of course, the big downside is fuel economy. This car is an absolute gas guzzler. In normal driving, you'd be lucky to get over 17 miles per gallon. Honestly, this is one of those situations where the on-paper specs actually tell most of the story accurately. If you're looking at the new BRZ or GR86 versus an E46 M3 versus an E92 M3, the way these cars compare is essentially exactly what you'd expect. The E46 is right in the middle in terms of weight, so when you compare it to the BRZ is a lot more nimble. Similarly, if you go on the opposite end of the spectrum, this 3,700 plus pound M3 feels every bit its weight. It doesn't really want to turn in that eagerly. That said, once you are turned in, once you are pointing in the right direction, you can get the car to rotate from the back end. The E46 and BRZ, at least to me, feel like they have higher cornering speeds. But is that enough to make up for the fact that the E92 has a way superior engine? This S65, again, I think is one of the all-time greats of BMW M car engines. So it really comes down to personal preference. What do you value in a sports coupe? If you want over 400 horsepower and you want the car to feel still quick by today's standards, the E92 might be the oldest M3 that will fulfill your needs. Whereas the E46 just doesn't feel all that quick anymore. It's not way slower than the E92, but you definitely do notice that it's a 6-cylinder rather than an 8. And finally, the BRZ, it is the most fun, most nimble, but you do lose a little bit of that German build quality that you get with the M3s. There's a little bit more road noise inside the cabin, And of course, the back seat is a lot smaller. So if you care about daily drivability, the E92 is a lot more practical if you can live with the horrible fuel economy. If it were my money, I think I would go E46 if it didn't have to be my daily driver. I still think that car is the most fun to drive overall because it has enough power. It's still super willing to rotate on the throttle. Obviously, the BRZ comes with its pros since it is brand new. You get a full warranty, but I think Varun is right in this case. The BRZ just doesn't feel all that special compared to the E46 or the E92. Let me know what you guys think of these three cars. I know this was originally intended to be a BRZ versus E92 comparison, but after driving this car, I couldn't help but throw the E46 into the mix because it's so fresh on my memory. For your $30,000, which car would you choose? Let me know why in the comments. Also, let me know if you're interested in purchasing one of my Zygrene t-shirts. I have sizes ranging from small to extra large available. Shoot me a quick email at zygrene@gmail.com. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.